Okay, there we go. Alright, so welcome to week 5. Let me find here. Where are we? Close all this stuff. It was raining today, so I didn't fix my hair very well. I'm gonna shave, so this is an awkward week for you guys. Me too. Alright, so week 5. Well, you're going to be watching this video here, so let's go ahead and move on. Basically, this week we're watching chapters 6 and 7, and chapters 1 through 5 have all been about what is a good leader, how do you define a good leader, how do you even know what a good leader is, because they're kind of under the impression that it's not something you're born with, and it's not something that you can develop, and so it's something that you kind of have to understand how you play into it. More or less what they're looking at is that it's not something that you do so much as it's something that you fill the need for. So for instance, the group dynamic kind of calls for a leader, and you fill that need, right? Not necessarily something that you can develop, it's just something that you're in the right place at the right time, essentially. And so chapter 6 then outlines some of the steps and what I call categories for how to fill that. What does that look like if you were to fill the need for that, or if you were to become a leader after not being a leader, and then coming into the leadership role for that group? How do you do that? What is it? You know what needs to be done. Now, how do you do it? And that's what chapter 6 is. It's kind of nice because they actually give you step by step, which I've seen in the past that not a lot of authors do that. They'll say, this is what needs to happen. I don't know how you're going to do it. You go, you go figure that out. But this book is nice because it actually says, here's what you need to do. And then chapter 7 just kind of further elaborates that, gives some outlines as to how that can happen. So once you've done that, make sure, first of all, read chapter 6 and 7. That's this, and then the spot holder for carving out a place for a leader. That is, what did I call it here? It's called New Psychology Theory Overview, chapter 6. So that link will be placed right here. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and take it and plug it in right here for you guys. You can kind of see what I do whenever this goes down. New Psychology Theory Overview, Chapter 6. So I call it the New Psychology Theory because they don't really call their theory anything. They just say the book's called The New Psychology of Leadership, so I guess that's what I'm going to go with calling it. Hold on a second. I want to make sure I load it in a new tab so that it gives you guys a link. It actually looks separate from all these other reading blocks. And there we go. Okay, so watch that video. And then after you do that, you have 2 assignments. The self-reflection research paper, number 2, just like the first one. You can choose the same theory if you want to, or you can choose another one. But again, it does have a video to go along with it, so you have to record a video. It's just how Lindenwood ensures that you're actually the one taking the class. Let's see. So it's a 1-page paper, 1 to 2 page. I mean, if you at least a page, at least a full page. No I, me's, or my's, no personal pronoun. Basically, keep it in the third person. I think most people didn't have a problem with that last time. Make sure you'll use at least one outside source other than your textbook. So you can use your textbook, but if you do, use another source as well. Adhere to proper MLA guidelines, have a works cited page, and be sure to include a thesis in your first paragraph. Everybody got some feedback on their first paper, so make sure you use that while you're doing this. I'm going to be grading all of your significant papers in this class in the same way. That's why I give you feedback. So you can use the feedback from these little papers to kind of use towards like the last paper you do, the field study paper that you do in this class. So that's one assignment for this week. The second assignment for this week is carving out your spot. How did they do it? And so what I want you to do is watch these 2 videos. One's from Game of Thrones, the other one's from some show I've actually never seen before, but I think it's called Vikings. But the idea is that there's a leader presented there, and I want you to figure out how, or at least make some assumptions, make some speculation as to how these people became leaders in light of the ideas that are presented in chapter 6. So in my video, I go over 4 steps. Explain what the context that would kind of play out with these 4 steps, or in this case I actually say all 3 of the criteria. When I say 3, I'm talking about the categories. You'll understand when you watch the video, but basically there's 3 categories, and there's 4 steps that kind of fall into these categories. The first 2 steps fall into category 1, step 3 falls into category 2, and then step 4 falls into category 3. But anyways, watch the video, and really what I'm looking for is in 250 words, explain in light of these 3 criteria, or the 4 steps, how do you think this person became a leader? Without going into it too much, you don't see a whole lot of this Grey Worm fellow, but you see that he is the leader, and they explain he has some certain moral about him and some certain ethics and values. That's a good place to start. Think about his values and think about what that looks like in the rest of the group, and then think about the 4 steps, right? The creating the need, the prototype, becoming the prototype, presenting yourself to fill that need, and then staying dynamic. So think about those 4 steps and how this person kind of fits into those 4, how he might have fit in those 4 steps. Same thing was the Iva fellow that we got here. I don't, like, again, I haven't watched Vikings, but, and actually I haven't watched Game of Thrones either, but my wife does, so I just asked her. But anyways, watch those videos in 250 words. How did they essentially meet all 3 of their criteria that our textbook outlines in Chapter 6 for carving out a spot for a leader? Once they carve out the spot, how do they become the leader, no matter if they were thrust into that spot or if they took over? Because in the first one, this guy, you can assume that he was kind of either thrust into it or it was agreed upon that he was proper for the leadership role. But here, this Iva fellow just kind of takes over. And so either way, they become leaders. They may not necessarily be good leaders, but they are leaders. They are filling that leadership role, and they could both be placed there based on these 3 criteria. And I just want you to think about how those 3 criteria, or the 4 steps, I mean, they're the same thing, how that kind of plays out. So anyways, that is the assignments for this week. Those are the assignments for this week, along with the videos and everything like that. So kind of a short week, I guess. But, oh, and so also the self-reflection paper, don't forget, I said it already, but make sure you put the video with it, because the video, like I said, is part of the attendance for the class. So anyways, have a good week 5.